Greetings! My name is Angelina Rubino, also known as CrescentMusic on Flat and YouTube. I'm 20 years old, and I was originally from Northern Illinois, but I recently moved to Virginia in order to pursue my bachelor's. I didn't start composing seriously until I was 16, but I do remember composing as young as 14. And the first piece that I ever made, I don't even think it could be considered an actual composition. It was really just me going up the B minor pentatonic scale and just doing whatever with like the left hand, just going down. I think you get the picture. 14-year-old me was not as creative. Film score-wise, I'd have to say that Joe Hisaishi is my biggest influence and reference, but I am also a sucker for romantic era composers, most specifically Frédéric Chopin. I would probably have to say that I'm more of a semi-classical composer, but with a modern twist. I do try to be very versatile and flexible, especially when it comes to tackling all kinds of genres when it comes to my compositions. But when it comes down to it, I think I'm more of a classical composer with a preference with very heavy orchestral kinds of pieces. I downloaded Flat sometime in late 2019, but I didn't start uploading my work on both Flat and YouTube until mid-2020. But I will have to say that Flat, out of all the notation softwares that I've seen and used, Flat's probably been the most intuitive and easy to use, and my experience with Flat has been nothing short of amazing. If it weren't for that, I probably wouldn't be composing as much, or I probably wouldn't have improved in my notation skills, because it's so easy to use, and like I said, very intuitive, very easy to catch on, and yeah, I highly recommend it. It's really heckin' cool. I would have to say Ayak. I would have to say that he's my favorite composer on the platform so far. I mean, I'm especially a huge fan of his piece Naturally Savvy. Actually, prior to this question, I've never really thought about my creative process and how I do things, but now that I'm thinking about it, I've always worked on my pieces one instrument at a time, just so that I can actually refine and edit the instruments as I need to in order for everything to sound cohesive. So, simple answer, every piece I do, especially the heavy orchestral ones, I work with one instrument at a time, just so that it actually sounds very, well, yeah, complex and professional. I would have to say music means a lot to me because it can be used as a very expressive medium in order to communicate emotions. I like how you can just translate emotions into the instrument. I've always valued that growing up, and even still, because I always have a hard time coming up with what I have to say. Like, I'm not that good with my words. So the fact that I'm able to get on a piano and just translate what I'm feeling at that very point through music and through my performance is just really cool. I would have to say my biggest dream is actually becoming a well-known film scorer within the industry. Yeah, it's true, I really do like communicating with people through music, and that's what I hope to do with my career. But I also want to make a place for myself and like leave my mark in the music industry. Like, I don't want to be seen as the next Hans Zimmer. I don't want to be seen as the next John Powell or John Williams or even Joe Hisaishi. I want to be seen as the first me. I would say one thing To anybody who wants to start composing, I would recommend imitating the masters. So anybody that you hold in high regard, maybe it'd be Hans Zimmer, John Williams, or anybody like within the industry that is credible and you like their music, I would recommend that you compose in a style similar to theirs. And just a disclaimer, this is not encouragement to steal any ideas, but rather to practice composing with the mindset and with an ear of that established artist. So yeah, like I said, just look up the songs, listen to them, and compose in a style very similar to them. And when you get to the point where you can do that comfortably, that's when you're good to go and you can move on and try to make your own stuff, like with that same kind of structure in mind. This was something that I should have done personally, but like the first 3 years of my starting composing, I did not really write any of my stuff down. I did not know how to notate. I did not want to write sheet music, and that did me a great disservice because I lost so many good ideas and melodies because of that. And so I would just highly encourage you to get yourself familiar with notating and writing sheet music, because that will be very convenient for you in the long run. So maybe whoever's watching this, you're maybe further ahead and you've been doing that the entire time, and that I would say good for you. But for everyone else who wants to start composing but they don't have an idea as to how to approach it, familiarize yourself with notation and sheet music, and you're golden. My biggest problem is that I forget that creativity is everywhere, and I'm not exactly dealing with like a pure musician's block, mostly because I'm dealing with musician's block mostly because of the fact that I'm a perfectionist at heart, and I don't really compose unless I have the perfect idea in mind. So that's one thing, like my perfectionism just really keeps me from like having like a fast production rate, like especially when it comes to my music. So I would say, yeah, whenever you feel like you have those moments where you feel like you can't do anything at all, you never know when you can find like a spark of creativity anywhere. Like you just gotta look for it. One of the biggest things I would probably encourage is don't be afraid to be experimental and try composing in different genres than what you normally do. Because for a while I would usually just do classical or maybe orchestral pieces, and I wouldn't really experiment outside of that for a while. But recently I've been discovering that with the right mindset and with the resources that I have, I could do a lot of stuff like jazz, blues, pop, rock. Man, heck, I realized that I could even do a guitar solo, and I don't even know how to do guitar because of like these notation softwares and all the DAWs and MIDI controllers available. And yeah, with that in mind, you may have a lot of resources or you may have very little, but at the end of the day, as long as you put your mind to it and like you have the right mindset and you have that drive, don't be afraid to try new things and to compose in new styles, because at the end of the day, flexibility is like a very high demand thing, is what I'm still learning, and that it'll serve you very well in the long run.